yourselves.
Joey's in the producer booth right now, just nodding and smiling accordingly. So
All right. Um, we've got a sports show, but believe it or not. Between
lies.
us talking about Tombstone and Wyatt Earp and Marvel movies, we will have a radio sports program today. Jerry Allen, voice of the Ducks, is going to join us coming up at 12:30
Hey,
as we are down here in Autzen Stadium. No better person to bring us into the college football season than Jerry, and he's going to sit down with put the headsets on and have a conversation with us about the 2024 Oregon football season. I want to get his thoughts on Tombstone as well. I know
indeed.
he has thoughts on Tombstone. We'll also got a lot of college and NFL news and notes. The crazy part of yesterday was some names actually getting lopped off of NFL rosters and getting swooped up today. We got to some of them yesterday during yesterday's show as they were happening, but boy, some real surprising names getting cut and now trying to find new homes across the NFL. And we again, list season it hits you like a ton of bricks right before week 1 of the NFL in college football season, so we'll have to get listicle too. So we've got to all of a sudden we have a ton that we need to get to on this Wednesday afternoon. I'm down here at Autzen Stadium. Danny still back in the studios along with Russ, holding it down on this Wrestling Wednesday. Where we got to start this bad boy off, a big decision was made in the Steel City. This is Danny and Dusty on the Fan. I'm not sure how surprising this is to anyone, but the Pittsburgh Steelers have named Russell Wilson the starting quarterback for Week 1 in Atlanta against the Falcons and Kirk Cousins. Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, kind of a back and forth throughout the preseason, mainly because Russ's availability for the first couple of weeks, he just wasn't able to play. But I think after what everybody saw from Justin Fields, this seemed like the no-brainer that you go with the vet.
I mean, the thing that I take away from this is broken, dysfunctional Russell Wilson is still better than Justin Fields. And that kind of tells you everything you need to know about where they actually are with their quarterbacks. It's not a good place. They're not And you can say, well, they'll probably shift to Justin Fields because there's quote unquote more potential there later in the season. But like, if you're gonna do that, then why not do it now? Like, I don't understand the reasoning if you're going to make the switch eventually, because the idea that somehow you'll be better today, but better with Russell Wilson, but better in the long haul with Justin Fields when they're both not good, I don't. It doesn't make any sense to me. My brain just cannot handle. This is like a double negative being a positive. It just doesn't. The math does not make sense.
Well, yeah, that goes back to and so you're going to go with the guy who is, I guess, less dangerous in the ways that it will hurt you. Maybe that's his new nickname, is Less Dangerous. But he is in the fact that what was the wide criticism of Russell Wilson in his time in Seattle, right?
Mr. Unlimited.
It was that he was a very good play action passer, could push the ball down the field, get those big chunk plays, but he was risk averse. And a lot of times for a quarterback, you want a quarterback who is risk averse and doesn't get you in trouble by trying to force the ball in and throwing interceptions. But Russell Wilson was kind of on that extreme end of it, right? Where he wasn't throwing picks, but he was taking a lot of sacks. And I guess if you're Mike Tomlin, who's a defensive-minded head coach, it's better for you in your mind, right, to be able to punt the ball away than sudden change bring your defense out on the field. That is the reasoning that I can get to that point. But to what you're saying, Danny, is I agree in that it's not, neither one of them are a good option if that's the mental gymnastics that you're going to have to do to stick the landing on Russ being the guy right now and saying, well, you never know, down the road Justin Fields can be that guy.
The thing I take from this in general is just kind of looking at the state of quarterbacks around the NFL and kind of the idea of which ones are on the most solid footing. Like we know like who the top 10 quarterbacks are in the NFL. We talked about the quarterback tiers yesterday and kind of where things sit with once you get past the tier 2 guys, which is essentially, your top 10. You get into that tier 3, those guys all felt like they're on solid ground, but you get into that tier 4 group and you start kind of going, yikes, I don't know. And even some of the tier 3 guys towards the bottom, you're like, I don't get it. Does this feel like the least stable quarterback position in the NFL right now?
Yeah, because I think in any of the other ones that we could talk about, whether it's Minnesota with Sam Darnold and you have J.J. McCarthy, J.J. is a rookie and hurt, so that kind of helps well, we're going to roll out Sam Darnold anyway. In New England, at least you're selling that, and we talk about this a lot with the Trailblazers, right? You have that hopium, the hope from the fan base that in New England you have Jacoby Brissett, but that's only because we're waiting for Drake May, and he's going to be the guy somewhere down the road. In Denver, it is can't be much worse than what we had last year, and we got a rookie in Bo Nix who's looked wildly efficient throughout the preseason, and everything that Sean Payton said he was going to be for us, he's going to be that guy. We all know this. We talked about this when Bo was named starter, right? He's going to go through his lumps. He is a rookie in the NFL where they are very well coached, and everybody is the best player on their college team, right? Except for maybe if you went to Georgia. But there will be a learning curve, but you have that hope of he's young, he can learn, we can go through this, and we expect this. Pittsburgh is really the only place where you're like, man, we're in the dregs of it no matter what. I mean, even Seattle with Geno Smith being your number one, you're going, he went to a Pro Bowl. He went to a Pro Bowl for us. And we have Sam Howell, who looked electric at times, right? I think you're right in that maybe your Vegas Raiders are the only other franchise that are kind of in this boat right now.
Maybe.
I'm sorry to say that, but at least your fan base is on. We got the plan, and the plan is to get the quarterback of the future next year. But that's not the mentality of Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh they've got a roster that's going to be good enough to go 9-8, 8-9, be right in the middle of the pack because their defense is still going to be really good. They're still going to have a good run game, and they're going to win a lot of games, right? Your hope for your Raiders is you kind of send it in the side of the mountain this year, right?
Yes, I mean that's kind of the idea, and that's what the Steelers have refused to do. And you look at every other team in the NFL. I mean, is there a team that hasn't done that, with the exception of the 49ers, who stumbled on it on literally the literal last pick in the draft after, of course, getting all the way up to number 3. So they hit
up to 3.
They have literally hit both extremes. But I mean, everybody wants to talk about how you can't tank in the NFL. Every single team, with the exception of the Patriots, in the past 30 years, has had to do this. And even then, he replaced a quarterback that was drafted where?
Number 1 overall.
Okay, so it's like this whole idea of like, oh, we can just kind of figure it out and maybe we can find value. Like, sure, that's fine. But at some point in time, like it's becoming so apparent that you have to. Now, whether or not you get it right, I think that's up for debate. But this whole, like, I would love for somebody like what the analytics community, whether it's, PFF or any of the other groups, that to take the quarterback data, and they probably have this over the last 50 years. Hell, let's just shorten it to 30, to like the passing era, and look at draft value for quarterbacks and then the actual winning components that came with patchwork quarterbacks that weren't a part of, or weren't supposed to be a part of the solution, as it were. Because if you are a Steelers fan and you are so deluded that you have gone full Chicago Bears and been like, no, Justin Fields, I can see it. Like, that's a level of copium that I just can't, like, you've watched this dude for 4 years be not good.
Yeah.
The list of guys in the history of the NFL, let alone modern passing era, who have done nothing in 4 years, you're like, I figured it out. And I think we're seeing a bit of that with Sam Darnold in Minnesota. This is year 6? Year 7?
Yeah.
And it's all because of draft value. Darnold being a top pick and Fields being pick 11. You just see this start piling up, and it's just like, I can't wrap my head around it.
I know it hurts your brain. Vancouver Ford text line 503-864-6326. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them online, vancouverford.com. The New York Giants are in that boat too, with Daniel Jones and Drew Lock, right? And it's not a fun boat to be in. It can seem very lonely at times, but I mean, we're going down, and we can do that then. All right, the bottom 3, quarterback situations, if you will, in the NFL. You can go Pittsburgh, Vegas, New York. Which one is the most desolate at this point?
Pittsburgh.
You think it's Pittsburgh?
Yeah, because they don't have
You're
the
not going to be
to
good enough, or you're not going to be bad enough, right?
You don't have the path to it. I think that's the legitimate thing, in that the Giants, like, they'll play Daniel Jones and they're going to be terrible because he's very bad. He's just not a good quarterback, and that team is just so bereft of any actual talent on the offensive side outside of Neighbors. And the Raiders, like, it is what it is. Like, I don't care what Antonio Pierce does, they're gonna suck. They're just not good. There'll be the little defense that could, where it's a bunch of guys that you've never heard of that end up making like probably it would not surprise me if the Raiders end up like a top 12 defense in the NFL. Like, it's weird as that is. They just, no. It's like, well, it doesn't really make any sense. But like, you look at their roster defensively and you go, well, no one sucks, and then you look at the offensive side and you go, wow, there's a lot of suck on this side of the ball. And in today's NFL, I don't think you can be that unless you have this overwhelming defense and being productive. And honestly, I hope they don't. Yeah. Like, I genuinely hope they don't. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you probably should have done this last year, dummies.
Yeah, absolutely. As you were saying that, I was going through. Did you see ESPN had their list of the most of asking quarterbacks or asking players in the NFL about quarterbacks, where the top quarterbacks, what rookie's going to have the best career, who's the most overrated and underrated quarterbacks in the NFL. And as you were talking about that, Justin Herbert was 4th on the most overrated, but he was also 5th on the most underrated.
It's a weird spot to be.
Isn't that a weird spot?
Yeah. I think we need to talk about this a little bit later in the show. This is it's a squirrel moment, but it's also, I think, kind of poignant. On my way in today, I don't know what wild hair just crawled up my back, but Brandon Roy popped into my head, and I tweeted out the general idea of he was the perfect encapsulation in the NBA of that boy nice, where it was the perfect combination of aesthetically pleasing, like the quote unquote real hooper, while also being a super high end talent. And I was actually kind of wondering, like, does that exist in the NFL? Like, is there somebody in the NFL that you just has like a near universal approval rating where you're just like, they're really fun to watch. I don't care what team they play for. Like, it just feels like they don't necessarily have to be the best player on the planet. But there's
like it would have been Larry Fitzgerald at a time.
Yeah, yes, 100%. Like universal approval rating. Every player, like nobody's calling him underrated, nobody's calling him overrated. They're just going rated. But it's also what they do is beautiful. But it's also even for like the real analytics is the devil. Like he's a real hooper, he's a real baller, he's a real player. Like because I feel like Herbert is, to an extent, one of those guys, but he has his detractors. So even if he's on the list, he doesn't make the cut, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Like just somebody
Well, I think it's Patrick Mahomes because he's just far and away the best quarterback in the NFL right now.
Yeah, but he has his detractors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
those people need to pipe down a little bit.
They're dumb.
The only reason why he has his detractors is because they're just people that don't like the best.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that and his wife and his brother.
Well, that too.
I think that those are probably the other. And they think like what? Because I think Herbert does kind of fall on that because he throws like one of the best balls you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And when it leaves his hand, it just looks beautiful.
I remember telling Andrew Nemec when Justin Herbert was a junior, I think. No, it was his senior year. It was his senior because he got hurt his junior year. When he was a senior at Sheldon High School, he threw a ball at Providence Park, and I looked over at Nemec, and I said, that is the most beautiful football I've ever seen a high school quarterback throw. It was a crossing route and hit a crosser in the middle of the end zone, and it was like the nose was down. It was on a line, and his receiver had no other option but to catch that ball. He could not drop it. And I just looked at Nemec and said, that was incredible. And I am with you. There's something about his spiral that you just go, yeah, that's pretty, man. He does throw a beautiful football.
But you know what I
mean? I have a couple of guys. Yeah. I have a couple of guys that popped into mind. But what we need to do right now is we need to class this show up a bit. We're going to class the show up. Jerry Allen, voice of the Ducks, he's going to join me in the booth at Autzen Stadium next. First, you got Jeff Rust with the SportsCenter update.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Mariners blew a gem last night by Logan Gilbert and a chance to close the gap in the AL West. They still are 3.5 games back of the Astros starting the day. Closing out the homestand this afternoon against the Rays, Luis Castillo gets the start opposite Drew Rasmussen. 1:10 first pitch on Root Sports. Seattle reinstating infielder J.P. Crawford from the 10-day injured list and optioned outfielder Dominic Canzone to AAA Tacoma. The Astros wrap up their road trip at the Phillies. Spencer Arrighetti and Taijuan Walker is your pitching matchup. That is a 1:05 first pitch. Over on the MLB scoreboard, the Cubs making a comeback on the Pirates, top of the 8th in Pittsburgh. The Cubbies so far have plated 3 in the top of the 8th. They now trail by a score of 8-10. We're in the bottom of the 7th in Cleveland in a crucial battle atop the AL Central. Royals with a 5-4 lead over the Guardians. In the NFL, Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin announced Russell Wilson will start at quarterback in the season opener at the Falcons. Justin Fields will be the backup. Former Beef Isaac Seumalo left practice today with an apparent pectoral injury, but initial tests show he seems to have avoided a major injury. Cowboys reportedly signing running back Dalvin Cook to their practice squad. Cook spent last season with the Jets and Ravens. Jordan Schultz reporting former Seahawks receiver D. Eskridge signing with the Dolphins practice squad. And Ian Rappaport of NFL Network reporting former Patriots quarterback Bailey Zappi expected to sign with the Chiefs practice squad. NFL Network also reporting Kansas City signing running back Samaje Perine to their active roster. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
One number does it all for contests and texting your favorite fan shows. The Vancouver Ford text line is 503-864-6FAN.
Welcome back into Danny and Dusty. I am live at Autzen Stadium right now, looking out over the valley, and a beautiful day down here in Eugene, Oregon. And we are joined, with Danny back in the studio up in Portland, we are joined now by a man who usually gets to set the scene, but I get to take it over for today. Jerry Allen, voice of the Ducks. How you doing?
I feel a little uncomfortable sitting this close to you. Okay, so I'm going to widen out just a little bit here.
I mean, is that the real reason why you send me all the way down to the sidelines for these games?
Well, just saying. Yeah, kind of. We voted on it.
Don't feel bad, Jerry. I literally sit on the other side of an enormous table up here. So trust me, I get it.
All right, here we are. It's finally game week.
Yeah.
For the Oregon Ducks. This offseason, it was short because there was a Fiesta Bowl, but it's also seemed like it's taken forever because of the hype and the excitement surrounding this team. Can you remember a time where there has been this much excitement heading into a season?
You know, maybe Marcus Mariota's last year when we knew that Oregon had a pretty good team and a chance to get to the national championship game. He was the guy that could get you there, and we could sort of sense that. I think Dennis Dixon hit the year that we lost Dennis. We knew midway through the season, not preseason going into, but once that season started, we realized here's a guy that has a great chance to win the Heisman if we could win the national title. So there were those times when you felt that excitement, but maybe not as early as we are this year with the change to the Big Ten.
Yep.
And all that's, the nation's talking about Oregon and the Big Ten and Ohio State and the Big Ten and the Ducks and the Big Ten. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Jerry, one of the things that I've kind of wondered sitting from the outside looking in, you've been there for a long time. You've seen the different iterations of this program. And for me, my criticism of Oregon has always been that they just didn't have the horses in the trenches to be on this the level of saying that we are a national title competitor. That feels like, and it looks like, it has changed over the last couple of years, and they can put those horses on the front of the cart now and go, no, we're here with everybody else. What has that transition been like, kind of watching that ascension of, hey, we can do it every couple of years, to, no, we're here year after year after year now?
Well, we knew. Jorgie and I talked about the pieces that were missing, or maybe not pieces that were missing, but the depth that did not allow Oregon to continue through a season when they would start well and then suffer some injuries, and then you didn't have those backups, that depth. But I remember playing Ohio State in the Rose Bowl, and I can't remember what year it was, but we matched up pretty well. Linebackers were about the same size, both sides, but Ohio State's linebackers were not only big, they were faster than all get out. We couldn't compete with that. So there were areas or levels, as you say, that Oregon wasn't quite at year after year. And we've seen it develop now. I think Mario Cristobal really should get credit for bringing in some bigger, stronger, faster guys and really got Oregon up to a different level. And now Dan Lanning has really topped that. And so now you're seeing across the board starters that can compete at that level with some of the bigger schools. We're talking about Alabama, Ohio State, putting guys in the NFL in the trenches. Oregon's doing that now. And so, yeah, it's changed. And we could see when we weren't there, and we've seen them slowly gain ground and get to a point where we believe they are there now.
With hype, do you get a little, at times, do you get a little cautious, like too many people are talking about the Ducks?
Yeah, I do. I find myself doing that. I mean, I got to dial myself back because you watch practice and you talk to the coaches and you read the headlines and you listen to ESPN. It's like, yeah, that's us. That's what we're gonna do, And it's wait a minute, okay, because I'll find myself starting to talk like that with people, with fans, and it's like, and now I've learned to say, that all said, everything I just said. But now you got to prove it, okay? Haven't proved a thing yet. Got to prove it.
Jerry, there's a ton of transfers into Oregon this year with two very prominent names in Evan and Dylan. Outside of those guys, who has just kind of popped onto the scene through practices, through camps, that you've been like, oh, this looks a little different?
Well, it's almost a little difficult to answer that question. One, I'm not supposed to talk about what I see in practice.
I think they got a sniper.
He's gag order
up there ready.
Yeah. But the real reason is it used to be that you would see a kid coming in like Jonathan Stewart, Royce Freeman or somebody like that, and they just stood out. You just knew this guy's different, and they would run through people, around people, and past people. And now you're not seeing that guy. I mean, sure, there are a couple of guys that stand out, but the reason you aren't seeing that one or two guys that are running circles around people and are standouts is because there are more standouts. So you've got in the not too long past, you had like maybe a 5-star, maybe a 4-star, maybe a couple of 4-stars and 3-stars. Now you've got 4s and 5-stars in, and so you don't have the guys that separate themselves and make you go, oh, wow. You're seeing that more as a team or a group of guys rather than one or two individuals.
And I think that kind of goes to, like, it has to be a very specific skill set that makes that guy pop now, and that's the credit to the roster building that you're talking about. Because I remember last year the buzz around Tez Johnson was, this guy's just different.
Yeah.
And then we saw it took him a while to kind of ramp up and get up to speed with the offense and terminology and such. But by the end of the year, we were watching Tez Johnson, and that twitchiness, that speed, it's completely different than anybody on the field.
And those guys like Tez and Evan Stewart, same thing. They make the guys who are around them so much better because they're competing with guys that are a level above them or were expected to be a level above them, and they're competing with them, and it makes them better. So you're not seeing. I mean, Tez Johnson, I think, is a tremendous leader of the wideout groups because guys want to be like him, so they compete with him. They're trying to be better than him, which has made them better than they were, which is maybe kind of odd or hard to understand. But I'm impressed with Oregon's wide receiver group. Running back group. I mean, when you start breaking down groups, there's a guy here and there that stand out. But I think the thing that's going to carry this team this year, Dusty, is that it's not just 1 or 2 or 3 stars or just a couple of guys here and there. I think it's the team in general that have raised their level of athleticism and quality.
Jerry, I want to keep you around here because I want to ask some questions. We were talking about, those guys with the twitchiness and the guys that just stand out. And I want to get your thoughts on, you've seen a lot of University of Oregon football. Who have been the most explosive players, your favorite players to watch here at the University of Oregon? And we'll get that from Jerry as he joins us from Autzen Stadium on Danny and Dusty on 1080 The Fan.
The Definitive Podcast.
Danny and Dusty split show. We're going to be doing these Wednesdays as I'm down in Eugene for Ducks practices every Wednesday morning and bringing you Danny and Dusty in the afternoons. And we decided to bring on Jerry Allen, voice of the Ducks. You've seen a lot of Oregon football, Jerry, and a lot of explosive players. Who are some of the guys that stick out to you as the game breakers that were just so much fun to call because you never knew when the game was going to turn on its head?
You know, I'm going to say one of the first guys, and you're going to say, he wasn't a game breaker, I mean, but he was, and that's Bill Musgrave.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Bill Musgrave wasn't one of those powerful runners. He didn't have the greatest speed in the world. He didn't have the greatest arm in the world. Bill Musgrave had a knack of knowing where everybody was at the right time and getting them the ball. He wasn't going to fight in there like John Elway. He was just going to get them the ball. And then that very first game, go back to Colorado when they upset Colorado in Boulder, it was the beginning of something special. It's where we are, I think, in 2024. I think he started, but he was one of those guys. I think of so I'll toss some names out. Jeremiah Johnson, I saw him at practice the other day. JJ had, to my mind, still the best straight arm as a running back I've ever seen.
He came in right when Twitter had started, and almost instantly, Jeremiah's stiff arm became a Twitter account of its own that took on a life of its own.
It was a thing of beauty. It really was.
Just punishing.
Oh, yeah. Eric Castle played in the secondary along with, Ashland High School.
Chad Cota.
Chad Cota. Those guys laid the lumber. I mean, fun watching them come up and hit somebody and knock the ball loose or do something like that. I think we were just talking about Royce Freeman. Jonathan Stewart is one of the first guys that I remember when fall camp started. He came in as a freshman, and we looked at him, and his legs were bigger than my body, and we kind of looked at him and went, "Holy cow! Why didn't he go straight to the NFL?" And that's the way he played too. He was a specimen. I think watching Joey Harrington. Keenan Howery, it's tough to go down a list and leave somebody out, but those are the names that pop out. Another one is Haloti Ngata.
Oh,
Haloti Ngata was the anchor that every team in America wishes they had every year.
Yeah,
I mean, he was a double team guy. He was gonna have to be double teamed, which made the whole defense better.
So he was so big that they would double team him, and he still wouldn't move an inch.
Oh no, yeah, he was a rock,
anchor in the middle. And then he got to the NFL, and it was like, well, it's not just a Pac-10 problem; it's a problem of humans trying to move Haloti Ngata.
Yeah, and he was so soft-spoken that you could sit this close to him and not hear what he was saying because he was so humbled and very, very soft voice. Now there were so many of them, guys. I mean, it's hard to stop talking about the list.
Jerry, in that same vein, unfortunately, it's the end of the Pac-12, but it's the beginning of the Big Ten for Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA. There's going to be that kind of line to draw where those four teams have some shared history that they can bring with them. But when you're going into that conference, what are the things that you're kind of hoping to experience or to see, or what are the things that you're looking forward to as you move into a new conference covering this team?
Well, one of the things I'm looking forward to, it may seem odd, but I want to see USC, UCLA, and Washington continue to have success, along with Oregon, to be able to put it in the Big Ten and have the rest of the nation finally say, holy cow, they play football on the West Coast. I think those four teams being in the Big Ten, if they can be successful on a regular basis, I think will open a lot more eyes across the nation. I'm looking forward to that. And then obviously the venues, the history, the tradition, rich Big Ten. I mean, going back to Ohio State again, back to Michigan, been to Illinois, going to Penn State. I mean, these are venues and teams that have watched for years and years and thought we're the hotbed of college football, even though we're the West Coast Pac-12. That was more college football.
What place are you most looking forward to go this year? Because you got the Rose Bowl to start it off. You talk about venues. The Rose Bowl to start it off.
Yeah.
Then West Lafayette, Indiana, Purdue with the big drum that they bring out, the Big House in Michigan, and then Madison, Wisconsin. And also Research Stadium, but that's a familiar place. Actually,
Right.
you haven't been there since the new
Have not
stadium
been there.
opened.
No, looking forward to it.
Okay, so those
Beautiful
are the
stadium,
those
I
are
guess,
the
yeah.
those are the 5 right
Okay.
there.
Easy answer for me because we've been there, and their fans are much like Oregon fans. It's one of the toughest places to play, and that's Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I mean, when they get jump going, that place vibrates.
Yeah.
And it's a great college atmosphere, and so I love Camp Randall is special.
Hey, they don't do any of these places throw things at sideline reporters? Because Texas Tech was not my favorite place to go and get water bottles and tortillas thrown at me for 3.5 hours.
Well, have you done a game down at Arizona State recently?
No,
Okay.
no. Last year
they
was
allow-
the one after Texas Tech. I was like, that Arizona State, I can't do it this year.
Oh, Lance is just tortillas. Water bottle is a little dangerous, though. I'll get tortillas. I can eat a tortilla.
I can
I'm not-
send some
that bothers-
cheese to some folks in Wisconsin and have them throw that at
There
you.
you go. Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't wait for that.
I'm
Can't
sure
wait for
late
that.
in the year we'll probably have some snowballs somewhere because it's going to be cold.
That's right. Mid-November, November 16th in Madison, Wisconsin.
Man.
God, I'm not built for the cold either.
Frozen tundra.
You gonna be on that sideline wearing one of those puffers? Was that what we're gonna get from you?
I'm going to look like the Michelin Man on the sideline down there. Are you kidding me?
Go find George Costanza's jacket.
Yeah, I'm going to look like the little brother from Christmas Story
Just
out
doing the
there.
star waddle.
Yeah, they're going to roll me out to the sidelines, and I'm just going to prop me up. I may wear the duck costume. I don't know.
That'd keep you warm.
It would.
You have 2 pair of long underwear and a puffer coat, and it'll be a 75-degree day.
Exactly. Historically speaking, we've gone through go to the Big Ten. That's going to be an awesome change, and it'll be very welcome. It's been pretty crazy to think of how much more publicity Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA have gotten just by this move, right? Everybody wanted to say the East Coast bias wasn't real. I think one thing that we have found quite clear is that it's real because you go to that conference and it's like, all right, now they're playing big boy football. Are you going to have your eye on any of the other former Pac-12 teams that you're going to be keeping tabs on?
Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of watch Cal, with
Yeah.
Wilcox there and some of the guys that played for Oregon and coached at Oregon. I hope-
ACC football.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. That is mind-boggling to go from the West Coast all the way to the coast, come back and play, and then go back. No, it doesn't make a lot of sense. That's got to change in the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Cal, I'll be interested in watching Cal. I'm kind of curious to see really what happens with Oregon State and Washington State.
Yep.
I just thought that was so wrong that they did not end up in a Power 5 conference somewhere. They deserve to be. And so for the next couple of years, I want to watch what they do and how that all plays out. I hope that they are successful and get where they need to be and where they should be. Other than that, I don't care about anybody else.
Perfect.
Yeah, I don't. It'd be fun to watch Arizona and Arizona State, but we don't have to play them. Glad we don't have to go to Utah anymore.
Yeah, see, and that was the one. I have grown such an appreciation for Utah in their time in the Pac-12.
I respect them very much.
Yeah, and Kyle Whittingham seems like a guy who is a great guy who kind of does it the right way.
Yeah.
And his program is it's amazing to see. They went from the Mountain West to the Pac-12 and didn't flinch, didn't blink. They were ready for the challenge.
I hated playing there because their fans were great.
Yep.
And that was a tough game. And I'm glad we don't have to play them anymore. Okay, maybe they'll make it in the 12-team playoff, and we'll make it in the 12-team playoff. That would be great. I
That'd be
hope
awesome.
that happens. Okay, I hope that several pre-Pac-12 teams, as well as several of the Big Ten teams, end up all in the 12-team playoff, and it would be like the Pac-10 over again. Pac-12 over again.
Do you think that that's what would get the Pac-12 finally some credit? Is it's finally gone and it's like, all right, so you got the Big 12 champ in Utah. You have a Big 10 team in Oregon. You can get another bid from, the ACC. I don't know if that's going to be happening with Cal or Stanford this year, but you could get one feasibly.
No, I mean, I think Oregon, USC, I think Utah, certainly. I don't know, Arizona has got a chance. I think
Arizona
Arizona's got
does.
a chance. So even Arizona State, it could happen. I think that would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be.
It'd be awesome. All right.
You ready for this game yet? I mean,
We got Idaho this week. What do you
Yeah.
know about the Vandals yet?
Vandals, pretty good ball club. I mean, they lost most of their offense, but most of their defense comes back. They're a good program. It's like I'm going to say this about everybody Oregon plays this year: be aware of your opponent, but be more aware and concerned about your own team.
Yeah.
No, don't beat yourself. So if you could let Idaho beat you, or you can play your game and make them have to try to beat you, and that's going to be a tough thing to do. But Idaho's. I love playing Idaho. I love playing Portland State. I love playing those teams that come to Oregon.
That was, I mean, this is the hard part for these FCS schools because Idaho is kind of the poster child for it. Coach Eck down there did an insanely good job of building up a program to be a quarterfinal team in the FCS playoffs a year ago.
Very quickly.
And then the transfer portal opens up, and their quarterback goes, and now he's starting at Oregon State, and Giovanni McCoy, their running back, who's a 1,000-yard rusher. He hits the portal. He's going to be playing a lot of snaps for the University of Utah. And you go, we're back at square one again and putting in all of that work to build up to that point. It's kind of weird as I've been looking at Idaho and doing the prep. It's like a lot of the guys that should be back and making that one more run that we've become accustomed to, they've taken off and they go to another place, and it's a credit to the staff of Idaho and also those guys for saying I can go to the Power 5, but it takes away from the FCS experience a little bit.
Well, I think, and you got to be aware that the reason they were good enough to go and make that step up on the portal is because he brought them in.
Yep.
You know, he developed. So I think he's a great recruiter. I think he's a great developer of talent. So I expect the guys that he did bring in off the portal and the guys who were freshmen or sophomores last year are going to be improved. So I think he is still going to have a team that was, I'm going to say, just as good as they were last year.
Yeah. And the pride of Lake Oswego, Jack Lane.
How about that?
Playing quarterback for the Vandals.
He's going to play in Autzen Stadium.
Jerry, thank you so much for the time, man. I appreciate it. We're going to have to do this more Wednesdays when I'm coming down here.
I'm always here. I'd be happy to do it. And
you live here, right?
Yeah, I live here. Sleeping bag right over in the corner over there. Yeah, I got the bathroom down the hall. There's no food up here. That's the only problem.
Stale popcorn.
No food, and unfortunately, you're parked closer to Dusty.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Jerry.
All right, we get to hour number 2. Let's get back to the NFL a little bit as roster moves, roster cuts made across the NFL. Some surprises that popped up. This is Danny and Dusty on The Fan.
Hey, it's Suk, and summer's
Number 2, Danny and Dusty with you on this Wednesday afternoon. Thank you for being a part of our day, letting us be a part of yours. I am down in Eugene. Danny back in the studios.
Liar, you're right here next to me.
I am not. I'm gonna be hitting like rush hour traffic.
You
on the
almost
way
said I
home.
wish, and then you were like, nah, I don't
I do. I wish. I miss your musk. I miss your scent. Right now, I got a view of they're pressure washing the scoreboards right now. That's what I'm looking at.
That's got to
in
be
Austin
so
Stadium.
satisfying.
I bet it is. It's satisfying to watch.
Pressure
I'm not gonna-
washing is such a satisfying thing to do.
Okay. Now we're getting into it. What will hook me? Carpet washing videos.
Oh, God.
And pressure washing
Yeah.
videos. First of all, I don't believe the carpet cleaning ones. Nobody has a carpet as dirty as the ones that they put
They
on
show.
there. No way. I am calling shenanigans on that.
I don't know, man. I don't know,
You
man.
just- like it's like a flood damage or something like that.
Yeah, it's not
it's
great.
mesmerizing.
It's not great. I'll tell you that. Look, I subscribe to the hardwood floors
I do too.
specifically because I don't like carpets because they get very dirty.
Yeah, they do get very.
Do not
dirty.
like. It was.
No.
I have carpet in
Carpet's
one room
pretty
in my
gross.
house. It is in my office, and I want to rip it out. And every time I clean it, because I have 2 little black dogs with short, wiry black hair,
Yeah.
and the amount of fur that comes out of that carpet, it gets vacuumed twice a week, and it like halfway fills. Like I've got one of those like cyclone vacuums where you can see all the stuff that comes out, and all of the fur that comes out of the carpet is just like, oh my God. And that's without kids, that's without spills, that's without all the other stuff. And I'm just like, I never want carpet in my house ever again.
Oh.
Ever. I want hardwood floors for the rest of my life. I never want carpet in a house ever again.
It's cold on your feet though.
You know what?
See, that's
I
my
like
only
it.
thing is waking up first thing in the morning and first putting those feet down on the floor. I don't want cold, hard surface.
I got the Crocs.
That doesn't sound like much fun either.
I just
Get some good fuzzy slippers.
I'm thinking, oh, sir, I have fuzzy Crocs for home. Are you not aware of this?
No, I
You are
was not aware of the fuzzy Crocs.
buddy.
You know.
Again, let me just go ahead and remind folks. When I had my hip surgery, Crocs reached out to me and they sent me a box as big as me, full of Crocs.
I just didn't realize fuzzy Crocs was a thing.
Oh yeah, dude.
Like
oh yeah.
I knew they had like the cowboy boot Crocs and yeah.
I will take a picture of them when I get home tonight, and I will send them. I will put them in the group chat so you can see them. They are dark blue with a gray fuzz, and they are. It has to be cold.
Yeah.
Like they are warm. It is a lot. But they outside of those giant yellow ones that they did, like the crossovers with the big stupid rubber boots and the cowboy Crocs. I have every other Croc in every other color, size, random assortment combination you could imagine.
And the cowboy Crocs you've been trying to get, though.
Yes, I have been trying.
I mean, let's not act like you're disgusted by them.
I'm not disgusted by them.
You've been trying to get your hands on a
They're
pair of the cowboy
limited
Crocs.
run, and they have. I've so far been stifled.
I can't wait until you finally get them, though.
Oh, I will rock them too. You know I will.
I unfortunately, I do know you are going to wear them.
And put them in sport mode, baby.
Yeah.
Spurs and all. That right there. That's a good trophy to fight over. The cowboy Crocs.
Yep,
Replace the platy with that.
we do have that. No, you know, the state of Oregon can't handle that. We can't handle playing for
Can't handle
cowboy
style.
boot Crocs. No, that's not the word I was gonna use. That's not the
Style
word
and
that I
grace?
was gonna use. People just be like, but then again, we have like an old tin bucket. We've got a spittoon. I mean, could Crocs be the old tin can of modern times now? And they're just be like, why a pair of Crocs? Why not a pair of Crocs?
Why not?
Everybody had one. They were easily accessible. They said, you know what? This is what we're going to do is we're playing for a pair of Crocs.
Look,
here.
you're on football practice fields all the time. How often do you see guys leaving the field in Crocs?
Never.
Okay, on the basketball court, all the time.
All basketball court is probably different.
All the time.
Because you always go to the locker room to take your shoes
Yeah,
off
okay.
on football, right? I mean, it's like that is a little bit different. I will say, I have had kids show up to try and lift weights in Crocs or Hey Dudes. Hey Dudes are the other one, which are like little slip-ons. Yeah, that was it. And I think that the hard part of getting the platy to go away for a pair of Crocs is, I don't know, Nike may have something to say with that
Look,
one.
all right, fine. Nike, make a platy based Croc.
You
Like
remember
have a Croc with like a platy face on it.
But do you remember they made a slipper shoe that kind of looked like it had a sole of a shoe?
Yeah, I know. I've got the
Closed
slides,
toe,
the Air
open
Max,
back?
the Air Max slides.
Maybe that's what it is.
Like that, just like throw like a little platypus on it. I don't care.
We have our round of 8 matchup coming up at the top of next hour for our rivalry trophies. We went all the way through the Sweet 16 yesterday. We've got the round of 8 today. 4 will be on Thursday, and then our championship edition coming up on Friday, leading you up to the week 1 of college football. And a little bit later on in the show, we've got to get to what will we learn from anybody in week 1 of college football? You've seen some of these games. Some of these games are pretty rough, but we'll have that coming up. Let's go back to the NFL a little bit, though, before we get there, because there is a very confusing tactic that is being used by one Gerard Mayo, first-year head coach of the New England Patriots. And he mentioned this about his starting quarterback battle. Maybe.
I'm going to talk to the individual players tomorrow. I'm going to have a team meeting tomorrow, and then I'll get it to you guys.
So does that assume you made a decision, you just haven't communicated yet to them?
Yes, we've made a decision. I'm sure they all have an opinion on who they think should be the starting quarterback, but I don't think I have to explain it to anyone else. It's my decision, and look, if it doesn't work, blame me. Blame me. I would say one thing. I think it's important to remember, like, what's good for the team today may not be good for the team weeks down the line. And so I think the challenge is you want to win every single game now, but also we're trying to build something special here in New England. So that to me was, that was a challenge.
Wow, you could hear the backup lights on that. Beep, beep, I mean, when you have to preface something with, wait, hold on, before you even make the announcement, you've done it wrong.
Well, and this is, as I heard the first half of that, I thought, oh my God, they're going with Drake May.
Mm-hmm.
Because
then it definitely sounds like.
But
Jacoby.
then it sounded like, okay, no, wait a minute. What's good for us now isn't going to be good for us later in the year. And that's where I think he had this OS moment of, I think I just told everybody who the starting quarterback was going to be. The first half led me to believe they're going Drake May. The second half led me to believe it's still going to be Jacoby Brissett. Because in the front half, why would you need to talk to each individual player if at the beginning of training camp you said Jacoby Brissett is our starter?
Mm-hmm.
After week 1 of the preseason, you said Jacoby Brissett is our starter. And then after the second week, you go, yeah, we got a little bit more of a competition now. You could just say it's still Jacoby, right?
Yeah.
And it's not changing anybody's game plan for you.
And it doesn't matter. The whole idea, I like how he was like, well, it's about winning games. And then he's like, oh, I can't lie that seriously, because if I say it's about winning games, somebody's going to hold me to it's winning games this year, even though we're going to win maybe 2 games this year, because the whole idea is that we need to suck because we have to be bad so we can accrue talent.
We got a lot of holes.
And so it's just like Gerard Mayo is getting a crash course in what it means to be a head coach in the media, and he failed every single mark today.
Wow.
I mean, it is what it is. Like, everything that he did there was the incorrect way, in the sense of, if you're going to go full Belichickian with like, we made a decision, I'll let you guys know after I let them know. You stop there.
You just stop it there.
You stop there. Don't go further. Don't try to drag that out anymore. Just stop there. But then he tries to like, well, and massage the messaging. It's like, no, you either need to be the hard-ass coach who doesn't give away anything, or you go full McDaniels and go, we're just kind of doing some stuff and I'll be some cool guys with. It's like he's trying to do it both ways because he hasn't found who he is yet.
I'll give him high marks for apologizing for cutting off the reporter. How about that? Can we give him high marks for
There
that?
you go.
Did he do that right?
There you go.
So he did that right.
There you
He
go.
cut the reporter off and said sorry.
My bad.
But let me back this truck up.
Yeah. And again, it's not like it's a crippling thing, but like if you're Patriots PR, you're pulling Mayo aside and going, okay, look, I'm not telling you how to do your job, but here's how to do your job. And you're either saying, we need to help you with the messaging of like how you're going to communicate things.
Yeah.
Or we need to find like a different style or path for you. And for those that don't know, that's part of PR's job is to help coaches kind of walk through that
You
stuff.
go through all those scenarios
Yeah.
before you enter the room.
So you don't accidentally say something along the lines of, we're going to build around Scoot and Shaden.
Oh, man.
Oops. It happens.
Did that happen?
It happens.
Did that happen?
All
right. All right, 503-864-6326. That is Vancouver Forward text line. What team are we going to learn about in week 1 of the college football season? They got a lot of clunkers, especially against top 25 opponents. That next on Danny Dusty.
Hello, sports.
All right, we're going to have some deeper dives into week 1 of college football. But there are, I think it was Tom Fornelli of CBS Sports tweeted out 59 FCS versus FBS games this week in college football.
That seems a bit much.
59.
I mean, come on. Like, I know everybody wants to have their way into the season. This is college football's answer to the Jamboree, but come on.
Yeah.
The FBS, FCS stuff has got to stop especially if you're in the top 60 teams, stop. It's the whole like, oh, they came down like New Mexico State. Go ahead. Go ahead and schedule all the FCS opponents. I mean, they paid Montana State to come down there. I think they paid them $250,000, $300,000 to come down there and kick the crap out of them.
Got that butt beat.
So like that, I mean, that's fine. and this isn't like a shot at Oregon playing Idaho. It's just in general because these have been scheduled out for a while. But if you're
no, I think you're right though in that. First of all, these are big money games, right? Funds athletic departments, and those are necessary. Would you rather we get them all out of the way week 1 or scatter them throughout the season?
Week 1, I don't want to see Alabama or Georgia playing Chattanooga Northwestern Community College in November. Because the week 9 they always seem to have like whoa, what the hell is this?
Yeah,
and it's like a bye week for them that they just happen to have right before they play Tennessee. And it's like
nobody got time for that.
No,
we don't want to go down this road. No, but we do have some actually intriguing matchups that I think we will learn a lot about where teams are at and where teams stand. I mean, off the top, you go down the top 25, we actually have a few compelling games, which is good for college football, and it's good for the sport that you have these sorts of matchups. Like Clemson at Georgia. I think Georgia mops the floor with Clemson, but I think we're going to learn a lot about what Clemson is week 1 of this season. Going through it their way with recruiting only high school kids, not hitting the portal at all, 0 incoming transfers out of the transfer portal, the only FBS school outside of the service academies to do that.
Which, again, is weird, and I think we're rightfully critical of Dabo because it's so against the grain of the rest of the entire sports world, or I should say the college football world in that regard. And you know what? Maybe all of us have to end up eating the humble pie. And Dabo's going to go, look, I'm going to zig when everybody else zags. And it's not necessarily staying true to his word because remember, if somebody got paid, he was going to be out of college football, and yet he's still here. But this is his compromise, and he does recruit the guys that he develops over 4 years, and the right kind of player comes to him. I don't think that there's room for that. And if you're in the top 60 programs in college football going forward, it might carry on and linger for a little bit because Dabo, regardless of how corny or cheesy or how much you don't like him or whatever you say, he still has 2 national titles.
Yes, he does.
He still has multiple high-level draft picks and talents in the NFL. He has developed guys. He has landed top-end recruits. He has taken lesser-known recruits and turned them into prolific stars. That has cachet regardless of, they haven't done it in the last 2 years. You know what I mean? And I think you're right. I think it is going to be interesting, and it's going to be interesting in more than just the football, but the dynamics at play when you're talking about how a team is built.
I'll tell you another one that I'm really interested in is Virginia hosting Penn State. I applaud Penn State for doing this. Go on the road,
Virginia.
Play a power conference school, and it doesn't have to be a blue blood, but go be uncomfortable playing somewhere else, right? Because this game could be a lot closer than we think. I go back to last year, Oregon at Texas Tech, right? You go into a hostile environment, it's an equalizer, man. And you have teams that are far better at home than they are on the road. And Texas Tech is one of those teams. So is West Virginia. West Virginia at home is a completely different team than when they leave Morgantown. And I think we may see Penn State challenged out of the gate in this one. And especially when you have a quarterback like Drew Aller who's worked through some of his warts, they're only 8-point favorites going to Morgantown. Number 8 team in the country against an unranked opponent.
Yeah, Morgantown gets drunk, though.
Yep.
And it's going to get weird, and it's going to get sideways. And,
it's a big noon kick, though. They saved Penn State.
Oh, they didn't put it at night. Okay.
Yep. So, I mean, that will be noon Eastern time. If that would have been at night,
I would have taken West Virginia in the points.
Good night, Charlie.
Legitimately, I would have taken West Virginia in the points. I may have looked like a fool the next day, but looking at that, like if you look at all of the matchups this weekend of outside of Clemson, Georgia, where there's good teams playing, that's the one where I went, that could get spicy. Yep. Miami, Florida, just because of the mutual hatred.
They are playing for the Seminole Canoe.
Mm,
We know that, right?
indeed.
They play for the Seminole Canoe.
I'm going to be looking up and down the sideline for the canoe. When it's like,
See if they actually bring it
is
out
like, is
there.
it out there? Like, I want to see David Goggins yelling, "Who's going to row the boats?"
Well, I think that we may have a situation where whichever coach loses that week 1 matchup is instantly a hot seat
Thrown
coach.
in the boat and thrown into the water for the alligators,
I mean, if Billy Napier gets run out of the building
which is very honestly likely.
at home, if that happens, they may just Viking funeral him.
Mm.
Just send that boat out there and start bow and arrows on fire shooting it at that thing.
I wouldn't hate to see it.
I know you wouldn't, but I mean he'd die. And then we have Notre Dame A&M. Notre Dame going on the road to Texas A&M. Is this Texas A&M's year?
No, and it's not
Oh.
Notre Dame's year either. And I can't remember who it was, but they basically said if Notre Dame wins this game, just pencil them in for the college football playoff, which is gross. It's gross. So you know what? Screw it. I hope
Really?
What is it? Gig 'em?
You're gonna go gig 'em Aggies already, huh?
Screw it.
Yeah,
Notre
you are
Dame's
a psycho.
weak schedule. Get them out of here. Get them out of here. I want every opportunity. I mean, obviously, I hate Notre Dame, but beyond that, I'm so sick and tired of this. Like, it's you've got every other team has got to crawl through the mile of crap to get to the college football playoff. Meanwhile, Notre Dame's like they step in a little something and go ew, and then they end up in the college football playoff. So yeah, give me A&M.
To the texter on the Vancouver Ford text line, that text in, when's the last time West Virginia beat A&M or Penn State? 1988, October 29th, 1988. West Virginia won 51-30. Should be noted, they've only played 5 times since then. They played in 89, 90, 91, 92, and then did not play until last year when the Mountaineers went to State College and lost 38-15. So it's been a really long time since they've played each other consistently. But 1988, Penn State's won 5 in a row in that series. Penn State should beat them and beat them handily. But I do believe, as we're talking about this, right, the question is, which teams are we going to learn about? I think we can learn something about Penn State early in the season as to where they are at as a legitimate contender, not just in the Big Ten for the college football playoff. And is this a year that James Franklin and company get over that hump? They have been really good, though, at beating good teams, but not the great ones. And that's been their bugaboo. West Virginia is not a great team. But I think from a standpoint of where does their depth line up, how are they at every level, both offensively and defensively, in the line, at the quarterback, running back position, and especially wide receiver. I think what you look at, though, with Penn State, it's quarterback. How comfortable does Drew Aller look back there? And that will make a lot of people a lot more confident or start selling their stock on Penn State.
Or they have another Penn State quarterback where you're like, oh, he's a high-profile recruit, and then it's not going to go down that well.
I think another one that we have, speaking of high-caliber recruits and saying it doesn't end very well, I think your USC Trojans we're going to learn a lot about on Sunday when they take on LSU in Las Vegas.
I don't know how this is only 4 points. I don't know how this is only a 4-point spread. It does not compute.
I mean, I do, because both of their defenses were terrible last year.
Yeah, but there's a sliding scale of terrible. LSU terrible defense versus USC terrible defense last year it's egregious. And they've talked about the secondary being good and the linebacking core being veteran and experienced. It's great. It's like it's still that defensive front for USC is untested. And you've got Bear Alexander, you've got Anthony Lucas, but beyond that, you're like, okay. And then offensively, there's not a ton of experience on the offensive line outside of Monheim, who is moving over from guard to center. You've got talent, I think, across the offensive line, but wildly untested, doesn't have a lot of playing time together. Miller Moss is going to know the system. The weapons on the outside are great when you're talking about a Zach Branch or a Mekhi Lemon, but beyond that, the running back room is deep, but not necessarily as explosive as it's been in the past. And I look at that team and I'm sitting here in a fight on hat, and I'm still saying that if they win 9 games this year, it'll be a surprise.
All right, I've crunched the numbers on this. 2023, LSU out of the 14-team Southeastern Conference finished 13th in scoring, 13th in total defense, 13th in rush defense, 13th in pass defense. LSU was, dude, and the only team worse than them in all those categories was Vanderbilt.
Oh, hey.
So, I mean, like, you're right about the sliding scale of not good defense, but we can also look at it and say, brother, this LSU team was 108th in the country in total defense last year. They gave up 416 yards per game. USC was 119th at 432 yards per game. So, yeah, I mean, just by not missing as many tackles,
that alone,
SC should be better.
That alone, let's see, just at USC Oregon, 3 missed tackles led to 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
3 missed tackles led to 3 touchdowns. That's how egregious it was there. And then against Utah, I think it was 5 missed tackles led to scores. And it was just like, you got to be kidding me. It was some of the worst high-level football tackling I'd ever seen last year. And I don't know how necessarily coaching alone overhauls that without completely flipping over the roster, which they haven't really done defensively.
I got 2 more teams that I think we're going to learn something about this week.
Mm-hmm.
And it's both in a really bad way.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
If North Dakota State beats Colorado,
which, yeah,
the Deion experiment and experience can be called a failure. Like, if you lose to North Dakota State, and this is year 2 of being, the portal king and going into the portal. I mean, tomorrow they play 5 o'clock. All eyes are going to be on them. Colorado's only a 10-point favorite against an FCS team. If they lose that game, we're done. But if they win it,
we have Dusty.
Yeah,
we have college football tomorrow. We have
college football.
We have ranked college football teams playing tomorrow.
Yeah, the great Kansas Jayhawks are 45-point favorites over Lindenwood, as
you
are
also
the 12th-ranked Utah Utes.
And the number 24 NC State, 32.5-point favorites over Western Carolina.
They play tomorrow?
Yeah.
All right.
4 o'clock, ACC Network.
But if Colorado wins it anyway, even if it's ugly, I don't think we learn a whole heck of a lot about them.
No.
But if they lose, that's a big indicator. The other one for me is Florida State hosting Boston College. After what happened in Dublin, if they continue to play as atrociously and they don't trust DJ and DJ doesn't trust himself to run the ball or push the ball down the field, you got some big, big, big problems.
I literally said that to somebody last night. What happens if Florida State loses to Boston College? Because that'd be the end of them. That would be the end of them this year, because you lose one game in the ACC, fine. You lose another game in the ACC, and you start out 0-2 against that. Side note, mild squirrel moment.
Okay.
Did you know that there's a Central Connecticut?
I knew that there had to. Oh no, not a university. I knew there had to be like a central portion of the state of Connecticut.
Yeah, no. Central Michigan is playing Central Connecticut.
Yeah, that. In their Division I?
I guess.
Well, I'll be damned.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like a community college.
That's what I thought too. But I just was scrolling through and I was like,
Central Connecticut State University Blue Devils.
Blue Devils. It's a complete and total ripoff of Duke's logo. I mean, copy paste.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Well, no, you know what they did? They put it through like the SB Nation logo generator and just kind of fancied it up a little.
Just tweaked the angles just enough.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, they are an FCS opponent. They play at Arute Stadium. Please tell me that's named after Jack Arute.
Oh.
They play at Arute Stadium. They've been playing football for 89 years.
Which you would have got me on that trivia question. 100%.
I cannot tell you, though.
Central Connecticut sounds like Blue Mountain State. Like it was made up.
It's very generic, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's very generic.
Also, can you have Central in a state that small?
Yeah, yeah,
It's just super
absolutely.
weird. I feel like you can only
sure
have a
can.
North and a South.
They've been a Division One program for 31 years.
How is that possible?
Well, I bet they haven't been very good.
Probably not. I have a worst day on the web that will also make you ponder. How is that possible? We'll get to that and more coming up here on Worst Day on the Web here on Danny and Dusty, Today the Fan.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on the Fan, the Mariners start the day 3.5 games back of the Astros in the AL West. Seattle currently underway, hosting the Rays, closing out their homestand. They're headed to the bottom of the second. They trail the Rays 1-0 thanks to a solo home run from Josh Lowe in the top of the second. Those Astros, they're wrapping up their road trip in Philadelphia. Bottom of the second there, and Houston leading Philly 1-0 as Jose Altuve stole home in the first inning. A couple of finals from earlier. The Guardians come from behind to beat the Royals 7-5 and take sole possession of the AL Central lead. And the Cubs trail the Pirates 10-3 entering the seventh, but scored 2 in that frame, 3 in the eighth, and 6 in the ninth to win 14-10. Over in the NFL, Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin announced Russell Wilson will start at quarterback in the season opener at the Falcons. Former Beeve Isaac Seumalo left practice today with an apparent pectoral injury. Initial tests show he seemed to have avoided a season ender, but could still be headed for injured reserve. The Cowboys reportedly signing running back Dalvin Cook to their practice squad. Cook spent last season with the Jets and Ravens. Jordan Schultz reporting former Seahawks receiver Dee Eskridge signing with the Dolphins practice squad. Ian Rappaport of NFL Network reporting former Patriots quarterback Bailey Zappi expected to sign with the Chiefs practice squad. And NFL Network also reporting Kansas City signing running back Samaje Perine to their active roster. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan is live on YouTube and Twitch. And now, Window Nation brings you on-demand videos. Watch Window Nation's window into 1080 The Fan. It's time for today's worst day on the web. With Danny and Dusty on Odyssey and 1080 The Fan.
Man, that sucks.
Got a good one today. It's local.
All right. Ooh. Oh.
I saw this headline and my jaw just got further and further and further to the ground the more I read.
Okay.
Here's the headline from the Oregonian. Illegal sale of performance-enhancing drugs for cockfighting rooster leads to prosecution of Oregon man.
Come again? Say that for me one more time.
Yeah.
Hit me, baby, one more time.
Illegal sale of performance-enhancing drugs for cockfighting roosters leads to prosecution of Oregon man.
All right. What do we? Can I guess the region of Oregon? You said just an Oregon man or a Portland man?
Oregon.
This seems very Klamath Falls.
You're same idea, but different region.
Oh, Estacada?
Independence.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
all
that
right.
tracks.
Yeah. This is all making sense now. Yeah, all right.
We picking it up now? Okay.
Yeah, all right.
Okay.
All right.
Fernando Israel Urrutia Arche, a 45-year-old man of Independence, is going to serve 3 years of probation and is ordered to pay a $5,000 fine after pleading guilty to a misdemeanor charge of interstate receipt and sale of misbranded drugs. He illegally imported and resold more than $200,000 worth of PEDs for cockfighting roosters across the United States.
Wow.
He imported the drugs through his business called VIP Game Fowl Supplies from 2019 to 2022.
Maybe not name your business like the stereotypical front business name.
Yes. Balco for Roosters.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's like, I see the name of that company, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to look into that.
Poor little Jerry Seinfeld never had a chance.
I'm looking at this and I'm going as like, if I'm going to co-brand this, I'm going to go Jacked Ramsey's, and also I'm going to have Jacked Roosters as also a part of my my cockfighting schemes.
That's right.
If this is what I have to do to get relatively inexpensive PEDs, I'll do it.
I mean, it's like a gym that gets popped for selling PEDs to the people that go there, and it's called like the Royd House.
Yeah.
You're like, didn't see that one coming. We had no idea that this was going on.
Get jacked via stacks. It's like, no, we get it. Yeah. Through the company, he sold the drugs that promised to increase this is the absolute heater of the article. He sold drugs that promised to increase a rooster's energy and muscle building, making a fighting cock 10 times stronger.
Boy, you weren't lying. You're not
lying. Russ can grab that for later. Help with their digestive system and make their hair shiny and flawless.
Yeah. Like this one, it's a great text on the Vancouver Ford text line. Like, I'm just sad to see drugs infest the game of murdering roosters, you know?
Also, what's happened to the morality of killing animals for money? It's like, it's the animals killing animals.
This is the least surprising story from cockfighting.
What's a more egregious crime, sin, twisted thing in the animal fighting world, particularly cockfighting? Giving them PEDs and turning them into little feathered Barry Bonzes. Harry Bonzes? Feathery Bonzes? I don't know. I'll workshop that one later.
Feathery Bonzes, yeah.
Or giving them the metal spur.
Boy, I think it's the spur.
Right?
Because that's just to inflict the injury.
The most
there's
damage.
Nothing good about that at all. I mean, fighting anything to the death, barbaric. I think we've evolved past that as society. But the fact that you said $200,000?
Yeah.
This guy's obviously making money off of it.
Yeah,
to the tune of more than $200K.
Yes, and here's the thing, and this does not make it better, and I don't agree with it at all. But outside of the U.S., not just cockfighting, but animal fighting is still not even like on the fringes. It's wildly accepted.
Yeah, like in the like the Caribbean islands.
Caribbean
you see
islands,
a lot of
all
cockfighting.
over South America, all over Southeast Asia. Didn't see a ton of it in the Middle East.
Huh.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's not totally true. We did it with bugs. We threw scorpions and camel spiders in boxes and watched them fight. And we may or may
Okay,
not have bet on them.
Danny, you're not supposed to say we
I mean, it was the collective we.
of bugs.
Well, look, if there's anything from the animal kingdom that we want to let fight to the death, I think
Scorpions and
are an
camel
acceptable
spiders?
answer.
Yeah.
That's just fine.
Yeah, we anything that was harmful to us, we threw in boxes and we let you fight.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put myself in your shoes in that situation because I've never been in them. I've
Speaking
never
of,
been that bored.
I had somebody put scorpions in my shoes.
Oh, no.
I kind of deserved it. I may or may not have put a dead camel spider on his chest while he was sleeping.
What?
What?
Again, this is that cheeky fun that you have. That's the Danny cheeky fun.
It's
Hey,
by
dead
cheeky-
camel spider. That's the size of a dinner plate on your chest while you sleep.
So you wake up and you've got arachnophobia in your face.
Scorpion in your shoes.
I got a snake in my boots, except it was scorpions. They also found
terrifying.
3,000
Speaking of movies you can only watch once.
Right.
Good Lord.
3,000 images and posts related to animal fighting paraphernalia was also found on his social media accounts. He accepted more than $213,000 in payments
Wait,
using PayPal,
hold on.
Cash App, and
So
Zelle.
wait, he was posting it on his social media?
Yeah.
This guy deserves to be roasted by Tanya Harding on World's Dumbest Criminals. At this point, it's like, hey, look what I'm doing.
What
an idiot.
Hey,
So-
everyone, come and see how dumb I look.
Here, number one, he said none of the drugs have been approved by the FDA. Is the FDA out here approving cockfighting serums?
Look,
Is that a
this guy
thing?
is the
Like,
this guy
thank-
is the equivalent of like getting on a radio show and like admitting to several crimes.
Oh. But it was purchased from the Philippines and other foreign countries, according to a sentencing memo. And I think the statute of limitations is out on mine. So, yeah, that's where we got all our steroids from. So
Man.
we got Philippines and actually England. Weirdly enough, in the early 2000s, we got our steroids.
Really?
Yeah, it was called British Dragon.
Wait, you got your steroids from
England? Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
there was a supplier back in the day you could get your, and it just felt like less shady because it was coming from a first world country.
Yeah, this is on the up and up.
Yeah, right. And that was the
Yeah.
way we justified it back then. But yeah, we
this
got
is totally on the up and
we
up.
got it from England and we got it from the Philippines, which is probably funny because the people we were buying them from in England were probably getting them from the Philippines.
Yeah, I
You know
think
what I mean?
you're 100% correct on that.
I'm pretty sure that's how that went.
No doubt.
This does have a sad note beyond the whole animal death thing at the end.
Oh, no way.
During this period, the man's wife was battling bone cancer, which required significant financial support. He has since accepted responsibility, has no criminal history, and has fully cooperated with investigators.
Okay, so
he was doing
he's-
illegal cockfighting serums to pay for his wife's bone cancer treatment.
Oh, great. So we got a Walter White now.
Okay, here's my thing. I may be like, well,
he didn't
dude, you gotta
hurt
do what you gotta
anybody?
do. He didn't hurt anybody, but he was hurting animals. Like,
Well,
this
he
is a
wasn't.
tough
He
one.
was just,
He was the middleman.
yeah,
For it. See, but I don't like that where it's like you have these arms dealers who are like, hey, I didn't pull the trigger.
Well, where do
one
we draw the
time."
line? Do we draw it's like what's that? Is it Family Guy? Or no, it's American Dad when they ban trans fats. And they have to smuggle trans fats back into the city. Like, do we get mad at the middleman who's out there just slinging trans fats now? Like, because it leads to harmful clogged arteries.
Yeah,
You know what I
that's
mean? It's like,
yeah. But I mean,
do we bag on the guys out there doing the distribution for the alcohol because of DUIs?
yeah, okay. But
See,
here's the
I'm
thing
just
about-
saying, you know what? Maybe he thought he was
But
selling
no,
real
no, the guy who is like a beer salesman or whatever. He's not doing it with like, I know the intention of people are going to be, they're going to get loaded and behind the wheel. It's to use it safely and recreationally.
Well,
right?
maybe they want
Not
some
abusing
recreationally,
it.
like super jacked roosters.
Okay, I mean,
Maybe
we
they want
do-
maybe they're show roosters, and he wants them to come up like they don't get tested, and they just show up
One thing that
super
we-
jacked and shiny.
One thing we learned about the Chinese swimming team is that the cattle in China is loaded with enough roids
See?
to trigger a positive test.
See?
And they're
They-
just eating it.
Yeah.
They're not fighting them.
That he was getting this from overseas and sending it back to China because they were loading it in there into their chicken. They're like, hey, the guys, they're onto the beef. We need to go to the chicken now.
Yeah.
They're
No,
testing the beef.
I think I'm still out on this. I think I'm still out on all of it.
Would you eat PED chicken if you?
I feel like I have.
Well, I mean,
feel like feel like we all have.
What if it like you could get like mild PED benefits from eating PED chicken? Would you do it? See, you're hesitating. Mine's an immediate yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the mild benefits are. Like, okay, are my joints and ligaments all going to still be like frail rubber bands and snap at any moment? Or am I just getting the mild, I'm getting jacked and have an incredibly large appetite? Because if it's the latter, I'll take it.
I'm just wanting to look good, feel good kind of deal, you know?
Yeah, sure.
Just a little.
Then, yeah, I do that.
I really want some shiny and flawless hair.
Yeah, that's the thing that they say about like the legalize this. I guess it's not microdosing, but the lower dosages of HGH, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole thing surrounding HGH is that is in low dose. It has actually incredible benefits for you. So
yes, in low doses.
Yeah, just not ones that make your head look like a watermelon on a toothpick.
I mean, you know, just make sure you got to work your shoulders.
Okay. Make your traps big enough to make your head look small, bro.
Proportions, they matter.
Nobody knows that you have a size 8.5 head anymore because your traps are huge, bro.
See? That's how it works. All right, coming up next, Rust threw this one on the docket for us, and it's something. Dion, you're going to have to stop, man. Colorado, what are you doing? We'll get to that and more coming up here on Danny Dusty, 10 to the Fan. Quick update on Central Connecticut State. Looking at their alumni, they had a Miss Universe contestant, and speaking of sports, Mr. John Boy. John Boy went to Central Connecticut State.
Oh, get out of town.
Yeah, James Vincent Michael O'Brien. That's his whole name, if you didn't know.
Oh, that's how he got to John Boy?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
It's a long name.
He'll learn something new every
But yeah,
day.
I was looking at their alumni, and I was like, wow.
It's tough to trust people with two middle names.
That's a long name.
I mean, I realize, there's a very famous former Portland person with two middle names. Damian Lillard.
Oh, yeah,
Molly.
double, yeah.
Just saying, but yeah, typically like the double middle name people are a little,
I feel it's more the
I feel if it's
the-
like
the
Wayne
mul-
or Lee.
yeah, it's the multiple first names.
That's always a serial killer thing.
It's always the multiple first names. Like when their last name is a first name too. Like that's always a little
Billy Ray, Wayne.
Yeah,
You're like, whoa.
When if there's a Wayne, a Lee, what's another last name that pops in there where you're like Curtis?
All I can ever think about when I hear the name Curtis is
Curtis is the first name,
Is
yeah.
old Cheech and Chong.
Yeah, it
Just
is.
yeah, I know Curtis, man.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's any other first names that are last names that you could kind of throw in there. Stewart's another one, I think. Anytime you can have like your whole name could be first names. Your first middle and last name could be a first name.
That's serial killer.
I kind of want to throw you in a wood chipper.
Whoa.
I'm just saying,
Danny Wayne Meringue.
Hey, whoa. See, the last name, that's how you know. Meringue will never, ever get there. That's how I'm hiding in plain sight.
The guy that always seemed very untrustworthy to me, and this is totally unfair just because of his name, was Brant Snedeker. Brant Newell Snedeker. Professional golfer. A guy that just like sounds like he was born in a country club and just raised there.
Yes, 100%.
And he went to the Harding Academy and then Vanderbilt.
Yeah, both those schools, Vanderbilt, I don't think it gets its necessary due
Yeah.
with how pretentious it is because it's in the SEC.
Yeah.
It is an uppity school.
But he won last night the Payne Stewart Award. He was honored with the Payne Stewart Award. And Payne Stewart, a phenomenal human being and a phenomenal golfer. And I was watching like some of the coverage on the Golf Channel. I was making dinner. The TV turned on. Couldn't find the remote. Look, that's why it was on the Golf Channel. I don't know how it got to the Golf Channel.
Dirt got in your house.
My wife cheating on me with dirt? No. Kids were watching the TV, and you know how remotes happen. They just get numbers get punched. It's a mess. But I ended up learning about Brant Snedeker. Awesome guy. Thought he was like this pretentious D-bag this whole time. It turns out, great dude. Hand up. I was wrong.
Nah, we'll let that one go.
All right. I mean, just doesn't that name sounds like country club. He's the bad guy from the Goonies, even though I do understand Brant was the brother. I get that, but I just associated that always with, the Astoria Country Club guy, not actual Brant. Josh Brolin.
Hey, Troy.
I just want to say, shout out to everybody on the Vancouver Ford text line. I appreciate you. I can't read any of your texts on air, but I appreciate you. Just want to salute all the folks that are on there right now.
There was a lot of aggressive texts.
It was funny. Don't get me wrong. Like I laughed. I just wanted to let you know I'm not ignoring you. Dusty's not ignoring you. We just we don't want to get fined.
Yeah, absolutely.
We will get to the Deion Sanders absolute mess of a story because it's too stupid not to talk about, at least for like 30 seconds. But coming up next, we have our Elite Eight in the College Football Rivalry Trophy Edition that we will dive into immediately before we get into the weekend where we will crown our College Football Rivalry Trophy winner. Coming up next here on hour number 3 and Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan.
I'm Michael Jenkins, helping you beat the books with
Hour number 3 here on Danny and Dusty on a Wednesday afternoon, and what will be the new norm through the college football season. I'm up here in the studio. Jeff Rust is in the producer booth, and Dusty Hera is down in Eugene at Autzen Stadium, where he is doing his prep and show down there as part of his sideline duties.
Yeah, it's they set me up with a nice little studio here connected to our radio booth that we broadcast the games from every Saturday from Autzen Stadium, and getting a chance to come down, take in practice, do a couple pregame interviews, and talk to some of the players and coaches every week before the games. It's pretty cool, and they're putting the final touches on Autzen Stadium before they fill it up on Saturday afternoon against Idaho. They are done pressure washing the scoreboards. I saw them replacing some lights up top. They've
Done
got it
already?
all set up, man. Yeah.
How big is that pressure washer?
It was pretty big. I assume they were up there for a while before I got started up here.
Okay.
But they got this thing done. It looks snazzy. They have new Big Ten benches now that have the cooler and the heater built into them with little shades over the top. It's nice. It's a different look here at Autzen.
That sounds awful bougie for the Big Ten.
I know. But they need them though because it gets freezing in most of the cities that they play in.
I guess. Cool. I wonder if do they have like a cooling bench for USC and UCLA?
Yeah. Well, the Ducks one has cooling. It has cooling on it. I don't know if they have. I can't really tell to see if they have little footy spots for the feet, but these are the big things that are new in the Big Ten.
Because they'll burn your butt.
They'll burn your butt.
All right.
Those things are game changers when it's cold.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I am there with you. The simple things in life where you just kind of go, oh, you can do this.
Yeah,
that's
sweet.
That's pretty cool. It's come a long way. Look, the coddling of college athletes, professional athletes, as it were. It's like those are the creature comforts where it's like, I'm okay with this. Yeah. This is allowed because it's quite nice. There's no reason to like, oh, you're less of a man for doing this. Like, no.
Unless you're a lineman wearing sleeves. Can we agree linemen don't wear sleeves?
There was a lineman was on with Taylor Lewan, and he's a retired lineman. I can't remember who it was, but he was like, they gave him crap about it. And he goes, here's the thing. I endured it because I think he said he played in Buffalo. And he goes, no matter what, I wore the sleeves because I was going to be sleeves guy. So I was down in Tampa Bay. It was 87 degrees, and I was wearing sleeves.
Can't do
and he
that.
goes, it had nothing to do with the weather. It had everything to do with when I realized I got to the NFL that he was starting offensive lineman. He's like, my arms just did not match up to everybody else's, so I had to hide them. I had to hide them.
Oh, I can't get on board with that. You got to get some curls in them, bro. You got to get some curls for the girls.
I thought that was a pretty honest answer of why. And because of that, I think it's going to lead perfectly into some audio that I have from Coach McVay of the Rams. I don't know if you've heard this yet.
Okay.
It is absolutely crazy. We'll get to that later in the show. But first, we have to get to our College Football Rivalry Trophy Edition showdown as we are getting now into the Elite Eight after our top 16 were narrowed down to 8 yesterday. Our winners from yesterday, which I have so many bones to pick, but in particular, I'm disgusted with you, Oregon. The Little Brown Jug has fallen to the Platte.
Wow, that is an upset. That is an upset of galactic proportions.
The Little Brown Jug is one of the best trophies in college football.
Location bias.
Bias,
100%.
Disgusting. In a very, 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 very close race, the Jeweled Shillelagh beats out the Beehive Boot by a singular vote. Uno vote.
Whoa.
I thought the Beehive Boot would actually win, but the Jeweled Shillelagh, and I did not vote. The next matchup, the Seminole War Canoe sinks
It's about time.
It has gone down. It has fallen to the saddle. One piece of the Cowboy hardware has made it. No golden hat, no shiny spurs, but the saddle of TCU Texas Tech marches on. Paul Bunyan of Michigan State against the Golden Cannon of Central and Western Michigan. Paul Bunyan in a landslide. The little tiny Golden Cannon, Dusty's rule on little cannons falls perfectly flat.
Perfect. Good. A landslide vote is the only proper way for that little cannon to go down.
And another near landslide, 60-40, the Heartland Trophy of Iowa, Wisconsin takes on the Milk Can Trophy of Boise State, Fresno State. Heartland Trophy moves on. The anatomically correct bull pushes past the milk can. Remember, you cannot milk a bull, and if you can, don't.
Don't ever do that.
Nope. In what I think is a bit more of a landslide.
I had no idea you could milk a cat.
Oh, yeah, you can milk anything with nipples.
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
I would pay to see somebody try to milk Robert De Niro. Actual money, I would pay for that because it would be a horrible thing. Speaking of horrible things, the Floyd of Rosedale of Iowa, Minnesota crushes the Land of Lincoln. The pig in a blanket crushes the Top Hat. 64-36.
There we go.
Did not see that coming.
That feels right, though. It feels right.
It's tough. Our next matchup, the Fremont Cannon, the full-size Cannon taking on the Shillelagh of Notre Dame Purdue, 78-22. Fremont Cannon, the big cannon, marches on. And in the Silver Spade of UTEP New Mexico State against the Ram Falcon of Air Force Colorado State, the Ram Falcon moves on.
Hey, look at that.
So
I'm okay with that. I'm okay. Those are two very
good matchup.
Those are two great matchups.
So our final matchups in the Elite Eight, the Ram Falcon will take on the Fremont Cannon. The Floyd of Rosedale, an Iowa trophy, will take on the Heartland Trophy, also an Iowa trophy.
Iowa does trophies really well.
I think they do the trophies the best. The Paul Bunyan of Michigan State will take on the saddle of TCU Texas Tech, and the Jeweled Shillelagh will take on the Platte. I think we know how that's going to go.
I mean,
disgusting
at this
Oregonians.
point, it should beat the Jeweled Shillelagh because the Jeweled Shillelagh should not be in right now. If we're being honest.
The Platte should not be in, but neither should the Platte. The Platte should have been out in the first round.
They should have both lost, yeah.
It's seeding. It's seeding. That's how it goes. So those are your matchups for the Elite Eight. We will wrap up with our final on Friday. We will have our final four tomorrow, and then we will have our top two for Friday going into the weekend. A reminder, college football starts tomorrow. Dun, 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 dun. All right.
Hey-o.
I teased this earlier. We need to get to this next because it's just so unimaginably dumb and leads into the ridiculousness that has just continued to surround Deion Sanders in Colorado. Coming up here next on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
It's The Fan on demand.
They're kind of fun to play.
Well, Dusty, this would sound all too familiar to you. It's actually kind of fitting that you're sitting in a press booth right now as we're talking about a potential Spygate scandal that Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes decided to bring to the Pac-12, but have since backed down against the Oregon Ducks after alleging that Oregon accessed its private football data last season ahead of their game against each other.
Well, it's so bizarre, this story. So basically what they alleged at the time was that their data was from Catapult, which is
the tracking
player
data.
tracking data, had been accessed by an outside source. Okay. Now, the video provider, Catapult, said to Front Office Sports, "We conducted a thorough investigation into reports of unauthorized access to Colorado's football video footage last season. We can confirm that the security of our systems was not compromised during the investigation. Our systems are secured with robust encryption along with multiple layers of protection. We encourage all customers to adhere to strong security protocols, including maintaining unique logins and passwords for each authorized user, enabling two-step authentication, restricting access to designated devices to prevent unauthorized access." Colorado, I guess, alleged this.
Mm-hmm.
Catapult said, yeah, nothing weird happened. And then they backed off, and when the Pac-12 reached out to them because they were like, okay, no, this is serious, Colorado's like, yeah, no, we're good.
Yeah, and there was even a thought of the FBI getting involved because this is a kind of data breach. It's a problem. And this is a thing that when you're talking about like Second Spectrum with the NBA, the tracking data, and the same thing with Synergy, one of the problems that in the early days of this, the lead up to this, was that these companies had issues with the teams being willing to participate because they thought if they shared their data with these companies, the companies would then be vulnerable to breach, or that they would have some nefarious actor that would, take their data and give it to another team, because it's all. But if everybody's working within the same system, then everybody's in the same ecosystem and everybody's protected. It's kind of like a mutually assured destruction situation, which the worst thing that came out of this was, the Toronto Raptors and New York Knicks that are currently embroiled in a lawsuit where a former Knicks employee stole air quotes, tracking data, which is available via the website that the Raptors have access to. So that part of it's a little weird, but Catapult's kind of in the same vein, because for those that don't know, that's like, if you ever see guys walking around in what look like sports bras with like a weird thing in the back, that's what that is. It's a tracking system that when you see so-and-so player got up to 21.76 miles per hour, that's how they're able to do that. They're not just like calculating how long it took them to cover how much ground with a stopwatch. They actually have the tracking data that tells them, because they have geospatial tracking data built into these guys with these sports bras.
I think it's pretty telling that when Front Office Sports reached out to Colorado for comment and for the Freedom of Information Act stuff, Colorado hasn't gotten back to them. And when they asked for a response from the Colorado Athletic Department, they didn't respond. But Oregon did, and they say, I loved Oregon's response. "We're unaware of any information that provides any credibility to this claim and see no reason to comment further."
Yeah. In other words,
this sounds like
get bent.
Remember when Deion said no excuses? Like, yeah, we got a whooping today, I think is what he called it.
Yeah.
And then
he had an
like,
excuse
no
immediately.
And then they're like, hey, we need to find an excuse real quick for this.
It's such a weird. It's such a weird thing. Like, this almost feels like, hey, remember how much leeway that teams in the Big Ten got because of Connor Stallions? Maybe we can gin up our own controversy here with like Oregon. They have so much money that they have people breaking into encrypted databases to get information, in which what I'm about to say is going to just be so out of pocket. They should try. Like, every team should try. Everyone should try to be out of pocket here. That's like, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Yeah.
That's like, but also on like, unless you're, again, like Connor Stallions being on the sideline and getting literal calls from teams, what are they going to find out from your catapult data? That your wide receiver gets gassed in the third quarter? Like they
Yeah,
could, you know what I mean? Like
yeah, I don't think there was much that they would have garnered from the 42-6 game.
well, that's
that
actually
played
why
out the way
they
it did.
knew that if they got somebody on the edge, that mathematically that corner could not in his run fit keep up with the running back. That's how they knew.
I think film would have told them that too.
But that's the thing about this. Like, if you're going to make this claim, which means somebody had, like, there had to have been something that, like, I would imagine the genesis of this, when they watch film the next day, somebody had a wild spur up their butt, and they said, there's no way they could have known what we were going to do right here in this down, this distance, in this situation, unless they got into our system.
Well,
and then the conspiracy theory started going.
Because they were 3-0, they were feeling really good about themselves,
And
then
there's just
they
no way.
realized literally every other team, with the exception of Arizona State, did exactly what Oregon did to them, right? I mean, it was 1-8 in conference play after a 3-0 start. And that may have been it right there, is that you are looking for answers when you get a humbling like that. But I think that the larger, conversation about Deion is that, what we've been talking about all offseason is that he says one thing publicly and then something else is happening behind the scenes, right? Always looking for an excuse or in finding a reasoning or an answer that just doesn't add up to everybody else, right? Whether it's the players that say, we were promised one thing, got another once we showed up on campus, when we came in through the transfer portal or through the recruitment process, or something like this where no excuses, we got to whoop in, hey, let's file this grievance with the Pac-12, and then, oh, by the way, we realized there was nothing there, and then we just went dark on all of the answers that the Pac-12 or Catapult were looking for, so then Catapult has to come out and defend themselves about it.
Honestly, if Oregon was going to steal some Catapult data, they should steal Washington's. I don't think you need Colorado's. That's the part of this where you're just like, if Oregon was going to do this,
it's ridiculous, man.
Of Colorado of all teams to do this against, use it against Washington, use it against Georgia, use it against USC, use it against Ohio State. Colorado? What are we doing? That's Vancouver Ford text line. Maybe Deion should change his password from primetime $1 bill. Very close. It's $21.
$21 bill. Yeah,
that's
what it is. We all know that.
Or password 21.
Yeah.
Prime 21.
Prime 21.
Password Prime.
Bill.
There's maybe 10 things that I could try, and I bet you that one of them would work. How much do you want to bet Prime is in his passwords?
Every single one of them.
There's not a chance in hell.
$200 billion.
I can tell you who's not in his passwords. Shiloh.
Wow. Dang.
Hey man, I'm not the one.
Child rankings.
I'm not the one who ranks my children. Come on now.
Yeah, and his own kid came in dead last.
That's tough. That's an absolutely tough place to be. I just thought this entire thing with Colorado just cannot find their way out of this, and heaven forbid, again, that they lose to North Dakota State, because if they do, it's not going to be their film that anybody's worried about hacking. I would, because you're going to accuse Oregon, who has all the resources in the world, of hacking you. What is North Dakota State doing? Are they setting up a Spygate? Are they smuggling? Who was it? Was it Mike Leach that did the wrong playbook?
Yeah, left a fake call sheet on the bench for the Red River rivalry when he was at Oklahoma. And Texas went out there and they thought they had all their hand signals. They thought they had all of their plays and what they were going to do. And it turns out Mike Leach gave him the old whoop-de-doo and ended up scoring a boatload of points against Texas.
I love getting a good old psyop. Maybe I would give Colorado some a pass here if it wasn't, Colorado for a nice little psyop. But, I mean, come on, man.
But this is like Arkansas's defensive coordinator went down this road last week where he was asked about how do you stop, sign stealing or, game planning. And he broke it down for like a minute and a half of exactly what teams do every week, and every team in the country does it. Whether, you've got a buddy on your staff who coached at, an opponent that your team that you're facing this week played 2 weeks ago, you call them, you have this network of people that you reach out to and you find out as much information as you possibly can. And that's part of the game planning process. And then when it comes to game day, or when it comes to watching film, you watch not just the film that you have that is shared with you by your opponent, but you try to get TV copy. And you have GAs and video guys that all they do is they watch the sidelines during the game copy and try to get as many signs as they possibly can and of the TV copy. And then from that point, you go and you say, this signal led to this play, and we need to figure out who's the live signaler, who's the dummy signaler, what the signals mean. And that's a core of your staff is trying to do that all week long. Then he said you get to game day and you have some GAs that are on the field and they're looking across the field and seeing which ones actually match up. And as the course of the game goes on, you start figuring out those signals. And he said that's something every team in the country does. And, it's not the magnitude or the extent of what Michigan did by paying people to go to games, buy tickets, and videotape the sidelines. That's a bridge too far. But within the parameters and within the rules, that kind of stuff happens all the time. All the time.
It's a very dumb place to be that this even became a story.
Helmet communication is going to be a game changer in college football. Get that, like we forget that that's a rule this year.
Haynes King said he felt like Tom Brady was the line going into the Georgia Tech Florida State game.
Tom Brady wishes he could run like Haynes King.
Right. USC is actually going to put both their defensive coordinators on the field to help with communication early in the season. That's something that they said, that they are not going to be up in the booth just because they're not used to being able to talk on comms. And
you don't know how it's going to play out, man.
And I think that's an interesting thing is you're going to see certain teams. I think there will be a start on the field, and then like, man, this actually works really well. I can talk to them until there's 15 seconds on the clock. I'll just work my way back up to the booth and see things a bit more comfortably. I think that's a really interesting thing to watch as we get more games starting tomorrow. Coming up next, it is basically the wrap-up season of listicles, the biggest impact transfers in college football and how they are viewed across the board. Coming up next here. But first, here's the Big Kahuna Sports Update.
You ever had a Big Kahuna burger?
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Jeff Rust here with your Sports Center update. First on The Fan, the Mariners start the day 3.5 games back of the Astros in the AL West. They close out the homestand against the Rays. Currently bottom of the fifth at the Pink, and the Mariners now, they've just scored a couple of runs. They got a 3-1 lead over the Rays. Elsewhere, the Astros so far having no trouble with the Phillies, leading 6-0 in the top of the sixth. Astros starter, Arrighetti, 5 innings pitched so far, 2 walks, 8 Ks, and no hits. Over in the NFL, Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin announced Russell Wilson will start at quarterback in the season opener at the Falcons. Justin Fields will be the backup, and former Beav Isaac Seumalo left practice today with an apparent pectoral injury. Initial test showed he seems to have avoided a season ender, but could still be headed for injured reserve. The Cowboys reportedly signing running back Dalvin Cook to their practice squad. Cook spent last season with the Jets and Ravens. Jordan Schultz reporting former Seahawks receiver D. Eskridge signing with the Dolphins practice squad. And Ian Rappaport of NFL Network reporting former Patriots quarterback Bailey Zappi expected to sign with the Chiefs practice squad. NFL Network also reporting Kansas City signing running back Samaje Perine to their active roster. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Jeff Rust at the Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Hot Corner, now in its new time. Tuesdays at 7 after Isaac and Sue on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Is your roof all-weather ready? Summer is the best time to make sure with a free inspection from Sawtooth.
The listicles march on as it is almost the end of listicle season, as football is officially back mañana with a full slate of college football starting Thursday going all the way in through Sunday. Dusty, are you ready?
Yeah.
Have you prepared your body?
Am I ready? Yeah. I think it actually goes through Monday even. I think Monday.
Oh, you're right.
Is
There is the Monday game.
Boston College,
yes,
Florida State game.
Yeah. I forgot about that one because it's the last
Don't
Monday.
Don't cheat me a day,
before the NFL gets underway.
Apparently, there's a certain Florida State fan that has vowed to eat dog poo out of a red Solo cup should Florida State lose.
God, things get
well.
hard
Who
for
is?
Bert Kreischer? Or?
Yeah, Bert.
I didn't see who it was. It was just a Barstool headline or something. But yeah.
God.
Yikes.
The Athletic
He's
is
about that life, though.
I mean, that's tough. I mean, I would never look, man. I love my Trojans. I would never go that far. College football's top 100 transfers, what we're hearing about the 2024's hottest newcomers. It is 100 transfers, the most impactful transfers in college football. Going through this list, a quick count.
Isn't that crazy, though, we can go through 100 impact transfers in college football?
I mean, you think about what the rosters look like. If you're just going on the starters, 22 on every team. There's 134 teams in FBS.
Yeah.
Do the quick math here.
134, yeah. 134.
Is that where we're at? 134?
Yeah.
So 134 times 22 alone is 2,948 players.
Yeesh.
So just think about that for a second. There's 3,000 starters in FBS Division I football.
Yep.
100 is not that many when you really think about as far as the drop in the bucket, as it were.
Yeah.
But it also shows you the depth and breadth of college football nowadays, that where you can have 100 impact transfers. And I think you can get through this list and still go, there's some guys on here that didn't make the list. It's like, oh, okay. But in this top 100, quick count, 21 of them transferred to Big Ten schools.
That's a big number.
21.
And I think it shows you in the top two, according to this list, Number one being Caleb Downs, the safety from Ohio State who transferred in from Alabama.
I still don't get that one. I still don't get it.
He's hunting for a title.
I guess.
And he's like a missing link for that defense. Ohio State's defense is going to be nasty this year. They fixed a lot of their defensive issues last year. Caleb Downs and a boatload of cash too. We remember it was $13 million to retain their roster that they spent in the transfer portal for Ohio State. So like Caleb Downs going to Ohio State, it makes sense. Very talented roster. He wanted to win a national title. He didn't think he was going to be able to do it without Nick Saban at Alabama, and so he goes to Ohio State. Number 2, Dillon Gabriel going from Oklahoma to Oregon. I mean, if you look at it, 4 of the top 10 are in the Big Ten, and there's 2 to Oregon, Evan Stewart and Dillon Gabriel, and 2 to Ohio State in Caleb Downs
and they're the biggest
Quinshon
impact
Judkins.
Players at their positions.
No doubt about it. No, and it's not particularly close.
I think you can make the argument between Stewart and Bond. As far
Evan
as
Stewart and Isaiah Bond,
because I think
going Bama to Texas.
Yeah, depending on which wide receiver is more your particular flavor.
And I'll tell you what, the Texas in the transfer portal at receiver loaded up.
Good Lord.
Because it's not just Isaiah Bond. They got Silas Bolden too from Oregon State. And this is the thing that sucks for Oregon State fans. And you're not going to want to hear this, but this is the truth of what Jonathan Smith did at Oregon State. He recruited to a point where you were going to be very competitive. 3 of the top 20 impact transfers left Oregon State to go to new schools. Aiden Childs going at the quarterback position to Michigan State, and following Jonathan Smith was the number 14. Damian Martinez at 16 going from Oregon State to Miami. Actually, it's 4 guys, not 3. Easton Mascarenas Arnold going Oregon State to USC at linebacker.
Where he is going to start at the mic.
And then Silas Bolden at receiver going Oregon State to Texas. Every single thing you hear about Silas Bolden at Texas is that, oh my God, he is a dude. An absolute monster. And now they have size and Bond and speed with Bolden. Texas lost a lot at receiver. They reloaded through the portal.
Also goes to show that Oregon State also put Jermon McCoy from Oregon State to Tennessee, and of course DJ from Oregon State to Florida State.
Yep.
So they have 6 of the top 75 impact transfers in the country.
Yep. It's crazy. And you know, you mentioned 21 from Oregon, and look, Oregon also making the list with Jabbar Muhammad, who goes from UW to Oregon. You had Kobe Savage as well, making the list.
Jamari
Caldwell, the defensive tackle that came in from Houston. I mean, it's a pretty massive list of guys that made the jump, and Oregon had a couple of holes they needed to fill, and they filled them through that transfer portal.
It's a really interesting spot when you start kind of looking at this. In the past, you know, the transfers were like a little patchwork here, a little patchwork there. Despite Deion doing the whole Louis thing, I think the year before with Lincoln Riley showing, hey, look, if you've got a program that has players already, like you have a Caleb Williams and you've got other guys around him, you can import your entire wide receiver room. Like they did. Like if you're Texas and you're like, our wide receiver crew or our offensive line is great, our quarterback's one of the best in the country. Prior to injuries, they had one of the best running back rooms in the country. Like, we can just go get wide receivers. We can do that. And it'll be just fine. And I think that's such a stark contrast of what college football used to be. We're like, we'll go get a guy here, we'll go get a guy there. No, you've got programs that are just going like wholesale. I'll get a D-line here. I'll get my tight ends here, my wide receivers. Like you see teams are loading up like whole position groups. And it's honestly pretty crazy when you think about, if you look at this list, the teams that keep popping up are making names for themselves. And it's not just like the the tier 2 and tier 3 teams like Texas A&M or Ole Miss. Like, they're good teams, but they're not. Like, Ohio State's on this list everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
You see, you know what you don't see though? There's one team on here you don't see, and they're at the very top.
Clemson. Oh, what?
Georgia.
Yeah.
You just don't see Georgia in here going out or coming in. You have Dumas Johnson, the linebacker that went to Kentucky, and you've got Trevor Etienne going from Florida to Georgia, which one in, one out kind of a deal. But outside of that,
they lost an edge rusher to Florida State.
Oh, that's right, Marvin Jones.
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
He didn't look very good on Saturday. He may or may not have gotten absolutely mauled by Georgia Tech.
That'll happen.
It'll happen. But my point being, Georgia's really the only like major national power out there that isn't on this list all over the place. You see Alabama everywhere. You see Oregon everywhere. You see Ohio State everywhere. You see Ole Miss. You see all these other perennial teams, and obviously Clemson, which we've noted they're not going to touch any of this. But in this top 100, it's up and down the board. It is all of those teams.
Yeah, I think what's interesting though is that if we look at it, you remember this is the top 100 impact guys, right?
Yeah, this isn't everyone. This is the impact guys.
They got Jaden Rashada, remember, out of the portal. I mean, he's going to be pretty important to their future moving forward. They got Vanderbilt's leading wide receiver from a year ago, but when you talk about impact guys, is he really going to impact that room that's already really good? Is London Humphreys going to be a guy that really impacts that room that much? Probably not, because they're already so loaded everywhere else, which is crazy to think about.
No, it's entirely fair. It's just it's interesting the way certain programs have positioned themselves in these markets, right? And I don't think it's necessarily a good or a bad thing. I'm definitely side-eyeing Dabo and not encouraging or working with transfers for whatever
you're telling
reason.
me you don't have any holes that you need to fill?
That you'd like to be like, hey, because here's the thing. Like, if you're from that region of the country, Clemson's a dope school.
Yeah.
Like if you are from the South, Clemson is a school you want to go to. Not only just because of like what they have been recently, but historically, the university itself, its location, everything about Clemson has a draw.
Yep.
And you're not going to take advantage of that?
Don't do it.
So like
so
you've got
it's gonna be the old school way, man.
Right? Like you've got kids that like they go to their other school first and they realize, you know what, I don't like it here, and you don't want those guys because they didn't want to be there first. I don't know, man. I feel like I do understand what he's doing. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. I think eventually, like everything with Dabo, he'll back off of this, but I think he's going to want to like put his foot down first.
Zigging when everybody else is zagging.
Right. All right. We've got to have some fun with some audio here because I teased this earlier in the show. Russ, do we have the McVay? Okay, we're gonna have to come back with this because Dusty, you've got to hear this because this was a conversation where we talked about this a little bit the other day, and I cannot wait to see the look on your face when you hear this. Come here, Mixer on Danny Dusty, 10 the Fan. I think I have a newfound love, respect, and appreciation for Rams head coach Sean McVay. He went on with the PMT, the Pardon My Take guys, and he laid it all out there. He bared his soul for the world to see.
Facial hair looks great.
I'm embarrassed to admit I had to get PRP for that.
Did you?
Oh. It looks a little fuller. You know, I was stressed. My beard, I mean, I was getting, I don't know if you want to say alopecia, but it was getting thin.
Yeah. You got shots in your face?
Absolutely did.
Okay.
You know what? Here's how it started, though.
I got to get that.
I'll give you this. This is how it started. I'm so LA now. So a couple years ago at the draft house, they got this over-the-top shot. You go back to the year that Puka Nacua was drafted. They want to show this. They're showing these where we're talking about the vision for Puka, all that stuff. I'm just, selfishly looking at my hairline like, what the f*** is going on with this
find
thing?
out, yeah.
All I'm seeing is bald. And actually Raheem Morris's daughter, Malia, she always used to say, you are balding. And I thought she was just joking with me. So I told my wife, I said, why didn't you tell me I'm actually going bald? And the back of my head looked terrible. So I started getting PRP shots there.
Smart.
Starting to come in. I'm feeling good about that. And I said, why the hell not the beard?
Yeah.
Are you just saying that? Or you
No,
think
listen, it does look good.
If he's going to get this, he's probably going to Google it right after.
Yeah. It's a pleasure pain when you do it.
Wow. Look at that. Full on admitting, not LeBroning it. He's going full Urlacher. Just embracing it. Look, I started thinking about this. I don't have any trouble growing hair or facial hair. As if you're watching on YouTube right now, somebody mentioned that I look like Fozzie Bear. Yes, my hair is growing and growing and growing. My facial hair is growing and growing. But I was telling Jeff Russ this before the show. I have 2 little spots in my facial hair that take longer to fill in than any other spot. Like, I can grow a beard. That's not a problem for me. What I have on my face right now is like 2 days.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously outside of my goatee because I just trimmed that. But like what's on my face, I think, is like 2 days. It grows.
Yeah.
But would I like it to fill in a little thicker in some areas? Sure.
Yeah. I remember a couple of years ago, I was growing my hair out when our number 2, she was younger.
Mm-hmm.
And I caught a glimpse of myself at the back of my head in the mirror. And I immediately went and told my wife, why in the hell do you not tell me that I look so ridiculous back here? And that's when I started shaving my head again.
What was her response to that?
She's like, oh, no, you look fine. You can't hardly tell at all. Which, once they pull out the you can't hardly see it at all, you can absolutely see it.
It's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's when I started shaving my hair again.
McVay has a look, though, where I couldn't imagine him without hair.
I could see him shaving it. Because I think he's got the very, very tan LA skin and now.
Perfectly sculpted beard.
Yeah, like just being that guy, I could see that happening.
Yeah, he'd keep the beard.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Keep the beard, shave the head. I could see that. But then he would go down he'd start looking like a supervillain.
I mean,
instead of a supermodel.
I mean, that's how the transition takes place, though.
He's a handsome man.
We can ask Sook about this. He rocks beard sans hair.
Yeah.
Very supervillainy.
But he's tall.
It's true,
Sean
McVay's
McVay
not.
is not.
True.
McVay is a short.
It's more Tom Cruise in Tropic Thunder. If he
there
went,
we go.
was it
Les Grossman?
Grossman,
yeah. Yep.
I mean, Dusty, you've talked about you have a conquistador mustache. Would you?
I do.
Would you be willing to undergo the PRP treatments to get a thicker, fuller mustache and beard?
Now, are
jamming a needle into your lip?
Are these the same PRP treatments that Kobe went to Germany for his hamstring?
I would imagine so. It's probably the same.
Or is there like a different one? Is this the platelet-rich
plasma?
I
think it's the same one, but I think what we're missing here is from McVay is I want to know, did he get these shots done in the United States?
Oh, absolutely he did. And it was by a boutique company that comes to your home and does it in your home because
that
he's
gets
in
cockfighting steroids from the Philippines?
No.
I mean, look, you can go to a dentist now to get Botox.
I said boutique, not bodega. It's like
right, they get their steroids from Britain.
Yeah, I mean, come on. They do it with like Botox. They do it with everything.
It's
they'll
so
just come to your house and just be like, "Yep,
so
this
crazy.
is a safe place to do this."
Yeah, we'll do this. I bet you these like Hollywood stars have the surgeons come to their house.
Yeah, if you're rich enough, they just assume you're clean.
House call.
Yeah,
I saw it on Dexter. We can throw the plastic down and be fine.
Yeah, he'll be okay here. And so I think I'm intrigued